Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
I am counting 5 water bottles in my immediate viewpoint. This is a small room and there are 5.
I drink a lot of water.
I'm not shaming how much you drink water, it's just the fact that in my direct line of sight with blinders on, there are 5 water bottles.
I'm so ashamed.
It's so funny and so good.
Every morning I fill up all of my water bottles because it's like, it's easier.
All of them?
I will drink my daily quota of water. I will more likely reach it if I, don't have to go refill a water bottle, if I can just, grab a new one and, the problem, is solved. But, every morning I, fill up my water bottles and I, have all of them in my arms and I'm like, avoid Emily, avoid Emily. She will mock me mercilessly. So.
Luckily, I don't come out of my room until 9 because I don't feel human until 9.
So, yeah, these are my water bottles. This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I am made of water bottles, I guess. I am Salicature.
2 water bottles for arms, 2 water bottles for legs.
I mean, yeah.
I'm Emily Jushaw. Hey, welcome back to Lord of Chaos. And luckily, we're getting near to the end. Min gets to Camelin with the Salidar Embassy, which is composed of 9 women. Don't worry, all 9 of these women will be described to us. And by described, I mean the Robert Jordan classic Aes Sedai description, which is what their Aja is and what their nationality is. Because for some reason that's relevant. Mm-hmm. And then I assume when Rand meets them in person, we'll get updates on the state of their bosoms.
Yes.
And whatnot.
And what color their hair is.
Yeah.
Those are the only 4 things that matter about a woman.
Distinguishing features. Boob status, hair color, nationality, Aja. So this chapter is called A Threat. I don't actually know what the threat is, looking back.
I feel like there are many threats, so the fact that it's just a threat.
Well, but what? What's the threat?
Is it men
the
being
threat of men?
Yes, men being there.
Men being there.
Is it when she's I had the viewing that a bunch of Aes Sedai are going to hurt you? That would be the most plot
that makes sense.
Relevant.
Sure does.
As we're heading into Dumai's Wells.
Woof.
That's what I'm guessing. But yeah, it's buried in this the threat is buried in this pretty sizable chapter of learning there's a bunch of Aes Sedai in the city and men bullying Rand because he said, I don't see you as a woman, I see you as a friend.
That was the most 10th grade shit I ever read in a book that's purportedly about adults.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That was classic 10th grade.
Yeah. Being but he sees me as one of the guys.
He sees me as one of the guys, so I better remind him I'm a woman.
I better change...
By sitting as close to his dick as I can.
Yeah, I'm gonna change the color of my clothes so he knows I'm a woman.
Just
and
do whatever.
Sit on his lap.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wear pink from now on, because that's the girl color. And sit on his lap and fall asleep on him, because sexy. Okay, we could spend all day dissecting Min's immature behavior, despite the fact that she is in her late 20s, I think. But she arrives in Camelin. She ditches the embassy.
Yeah, she's like, bye.
She's like, bye, sneaks out of the window on, like, sheets tied together to make a rope to get to Rand at the palace. And, I mean, we get some of her backstory, which is that her dad died and then she was raised by her aunts. She has 3 of them.
She's basically Sleeping Beauty.
She really is, yeah. She's
thrown
got
out
those
with 3 little
fairies. No mention of her mother, so I guess she just doesn't have one. Yeah. And apparently she spent her childhood running about the mines in boys' clothes, which is mind-boggling.
Like, were you a miner?
I guess her dad was a miner. But it's like in Baerlon, I guess I never really computed that Baerlon was a mining town. That, like, wasn't clear to us the first time we read it.
I mean, I feel like this could be just my lack of spatial reasoning, but I feel like the way every Wheel of Time city is described, it is literally, like, just a city in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
like, there aren't suburbs or it's, like,
surroundings.
Farm, empty city.
Yeah.
So I just never gathered that Baerlon was anywhere near, like, mountains for mining.
Yeah, I picture it all like, Minas Tirith.
Yeah.
Just in the middle of a flat plain where a battle is gonna happen, you know? And I know Minas Tirith is on a mountain, but just one.
Yeah, remove the mountain.
Yeah, and it's just city, and I guess Rohan would be the better.
Rohan.
Riders of the Rohirrim. Death!
Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell?
Anyway, so Min is basically like, I was raised in the coal mines or something.
And then my aunts tried to make me pretty.
Then my aunts tried to make me wear girls' clothes, but that didn't succeed. But now here I am. I'm horny for the first time in my life, so here I am wearing girls' clothes.
Yeah, that's what happens.
I mean, pretty much. Min, for some reason, is constantly described to us as being, like, sexually mature. As in, she talks about things like, I had my first kiss when Rand was still, you know, a shepherd boy. To emphasize, I guess, both the age difference and the fact that she has experience sexually.
Yeah.
And yet, we are placing her in this incredibly immature, like, state of mind regarding female interactions with men.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't act like she's had sex with a man before.
Or any sort... She acts like she's just barely been let out of the house. Papa forbade mirrors, lest we fall victim to vanity. She's never seen herself before, much less a man.
Yeah. Well, she literally has this line where she's like, I just don't understand why women act dumb around men. Which is also a trope that I hate, that men make women go, like...
crazy.
Blank in the head. But it's just, like, you've never been attracted to a person before? I find that very... Like, if we can cut out all the, you know, dumb sexist bullshit there, it's like... I'm attracted to this person, it makes me think a little differently. Like, you've never been attracted to a person before? I just don't believe that.
Yeah, if you're in your late 20s, unless you are, something like on the ace spectrum or demisexual or something like that, presumably you've been attracted to people before. And I say presumably because I really doubt Robert Jordan had ever heard of the asexual spectrum.
Robert Jordan's like, excuse me?
Excuse me? People not driven by sex? But... yeah.
Yeah, it's just silly. It's just one of those many things in Wheel of Time that just, like, doesn't make sense. And I also, like, don't love... I feel like this is a trope that we see with, quote-unquote, strong female characters, where it's, like, even if they've been attracted to people before, it's only their, like, love interest that makes them go, like, silly feminine, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, like... Which is... So it's, like, before this, you're able to just be, like, cold and detached, but Rand awakens the woman inside of you.
Yeah, you see him and your womb just immediately starts wandering, trying to get closer to him or something. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's sexist. It's obviously sexist. None of the men start acting differently
Yeah.
The closest we get is Perrin growing a beard, but that is because Fail directly told him to.
Yeah. And I mean, we cannot hold Perrin and Fail up as any sort of relationship model.
No, but, like, the men aren't changing themselves for women.
I get what you're saying.
So, like,
yeah.
it's only men, it's only Avienda, whatever.
And I just also feel like Rand occupies so much more point of view space when we are in one of the women's points of view than any of them ever occupy in Rand's points of view.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I know Rand is a world leader, the world leader, and has many other things to think about, but Elaine is also a world leader, allegedly.
Oh, God, I wish she wasn't.
So maybe she shouldn't be thinking about this man so much. But women are too emotional for politics.
That's so true.
Don't you guys know? That makes me want to watch Veep.
Were you watching that when quarantine started?
I feel like it was like right before quarantine.
Yeah, God.
I went through my Veep period.
My
My Veep period.
blue period. My Veep period. So, Min gets some of the ale maidens who are just standing around to take her to Rand, who's in the throne room, visiting with a bunch of the Andoran nobles, who, I guess upon hearing that Min is there, he immediately dismisses.
Kicks them all out.
He's just like, get out. And they're like, fine, we don't want to be here anyway. And then we switch over to his point of view, I guess because Robert Jordan couldn't even stand himself writing Min's point of view and was like, I have to get out of here.
Yeah.
This is insufferable. But we switch over to Rand, who is, as usual, happily oblivious whenever any woman is attracted to him. Mm-hmm. He's like, Min, picks her up, whirls her around, is like, come to my rooms, we'll have a drink, we'll catch up. She's like, great. They go to his rooms, and he's like, what's up? What you doing here? She's like, well, first I have this letter from Elaine. I can't tell you where she is. And Rand's like, I know perfectly well where she is. She's in Salidar. And Min's like, okay.
Sure.
Might as well. Here's this letter that Elaine wrote where she says, Rand, I have made my feelings clear to you. Now that's a blatant lie.
False.
Know that they have not changed. They change every minute of every hour.
It's correct.
Then she says, I hope that you feel for me what I feel for you. And it's like a confusing amount of emotions. I guess he does. Then she says, Min can help you if you will only listen to her. And apparently this last line is a late addition. It's, I love her like a sister and hope you love her as I do. Which I don't know if that's supposed to be Elaine's latent jealousy cropping up, being like, I hope you only love Min as a sister. But it's like, nothing Elaine's, for a potential world leader, is the least helpful communicator in the series. And I say that as a person who last week watched Matt absolutely fail at being any type of diplomat between Rand and the Salidar Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Elaine's worse somehow.
Somehow.
Every time Elaine speaks, she makes enemies.
It's so true, though. She's so annoying.
And Min's like, what? What's up? Because Rand's like, ugh. He's like, women are the worst. Elaine's beautiful and I just want to fuck her, but Avienda's also beautiful and I want to fuck her, and I'm terrible. And then he's like, oh, Min's looking at me kind of weird. And she's like, it's not really polite to talk to one woman about another. And he's like, well, you're just my friend.
Yeah.
I can talk to you about anything. She's like, so you don't even see me as, he says, I think he says directly, I don't think of you as a woman. And then she's like, oh.
Yeah.
Kill Bill sirens.
Yeah. She's like, now I will just mercilessly violate his personal boundaries until he wants to fuck me.
Yeah, so, skimming right over that.
Sulin comes in at one point and throws a bunch of wine everywhere.
Yeah, Sulin comes in while Rand is sitting with Min on his lap. Yeah, sorry, pronouns, getting all confused. Sulin's like, excuse me? And Rand tells us that he has had Sulin reassigned to his rooms specifically in the hopes that it will help her meet her toe faster, because she specifically doesn't want Rand to see her doing serving shit, and also to keep her, I guess, from running around the palace doing.
Yeah.
I don't really get that part of it, because it's like, Sulan's a perfectly fit woman.
Yeah.
She can do manual labor if that's what she signed up for, you know?
Yeah. His implication is like she was doing too much manual labor. And it's like, Sulan is probably the buffest woman in the world.
Yeah, and also she's not doing any more manual labor than any of the, like, wispy maids.
Yeah, than any of the frail white people in Andor.
Yeah, come on, bud. What's your deal?
Yeah. She's just a shithead.
Yeah, but she's, like, immediately very angry. And it's kind of hard to tell why, because it's Sulan.
Yeah.
Because Rand's like, now I don't want you to hurt Min, even though she's sitting on my lap, and I was allegedly with Avienda until 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And Sulan's like, no one is gonna hurt Min except Avienda if Avienda wants to.
Yeah.
Like, that's not my problem. I guess it's that some stranger sees her serving.
I guess.
Something like that.
She's a hard one to crack.
But Min starts telling Rand about how the Aes Sedai are with her, how there's 9 of them, how they're led by a woman named Marana, where they're at. And then she says, I don't think they mean you any harm. And he's like, oh, is that your opinion or a viewing? And she says, well, it's just my opinion. But I did have a viewing that some Aes Sedai are going to hurt you. I don't know when or how or why. And he says, well, could it be the Aes Sedai who came with you? And she's like, could be.
Yeah.
Don't really know. The thing about Rand and Min is that when they are just talking, they are having some of the most straightforward conversations.
Yeah.
In the series. When you kind of manage to muddle through all the romantic stuff where Min's like, woolhead, I'm a woman, look at my tits, you know?
Yeah.
And Rand's just like, whoa. When they're talking about normal things, they're having totally clear communication that isn't as bogged down as typical Wheel of Time communication is between men and women. Which is the point, and which is why Rand is attracted to Min, and why he views her as a friend, and why their relationship works-ish. Mm-hmm. Rand and Min spend the most time together of Rand and any of his love interests, I guess. Min is going to be here till the end of the series. She's basically hanging out with Rand wherever he goes.
Okay.
With, occasional breaks as he goes herring off to various places and leaves her. But generally, they're together, and while their dynamic can be really annoying at times, it's also just like, of the 3 of them, I'm glad, I guess, it's Min, because Elaine is simply insufferable when she's in the same room as Rand. Avienda and Rand can't have a straight conversation.
Yeah.
So, at least Min can provide actual, help and advice.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of scraping my nails along the bottom of the barrel here, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to say that when that should be, I don't know, the starting point for any relationship rather than the goal. But yeah, Rand keeps talking in these chapters basically about, how he trusts her and she's honest with him and he feels like he can be honest with her, which is super nice when we're around so many characters all the time who are politicking, and maneuvering and manipulating. It's nice to just have 2 people have a normal, straightforward conversation.
Yeah, and he's comfortable with her, and the struggle then is getting through the next couple of books before Min is comfortable in her position with Rand. Mm-hmm. As not just his friend, but now we're lovers and whatever, and she's gotten him to accept that he's in love with her too, Yeah. So it's always a little bit insufferable on her end, usually through Rand's point of views for whatever reason. Conversations with Min tend to seem a lot better. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so... they chat a little about her viewings. Rand says, it's cool, Min, Lucerne is freaking out, but I'm good. You can tell them that they can come by 3 at a time, but they absolutely can't channel around me, and I'll be able to tell if they can. She's like, cool groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sulin comes in. Then Melaine comes in, who I guess has been in Camelin all this time, the only one of the wise ones, because Bale, her husband, has been in Camelin.
Seems right.
Hard to keep track. But she's there. She's like, hi, I'm bringing you news that there are more Aes Sedai in Camelin now. And Rand's like, yeah, I've heard about it. There are and I know where Edwin is. Melaine is also like, Edwin left to go somewhere.
Like, Egg went bye-bye.
And he's like, oh, okay. And then Min suddenly pipes up where she's fallen half asleep on Rand, which I'm like,
girl, you were wide awake a minute ago.
yeah, what happened? Did you get drugged or something?
I know she mentions that they got in the middle of the night, but it's like, it's just more ways that we can remember she is a soft, gentle woman.
Yeah, there's a lot of attempts to make Min palatable and feminine, since she wasn't enough, I guess, early in the series, even though she totally was.
Yeah, Robert Jordan thinks he made quote-unquote unlikable women in Min and Avienda, and it's like, they're totally fine.
Yeah, they're
You don't have to
normal.
feminize them further by having Avienda grow out her rat tail. I wish Avienda got to keep her rat tail throughout the whole series.
Fucking
It
hilarious.
would be so good.
Anyway, Min's like, you're gonna have twins. And Melane's like, how do you know? I just found out I'm pregnant, like, legit this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And Rand's like, I mean, Min's all, like, angry at Rand for some reason. And Rand's like, you're the one who fucking spilled the beans.
Yeah.
Dumb fuck.
Not my fault.
But Min and Melaine have this conversation about Min's viewings. Min just sort of comes clean about them. This is sort of setting the stage for Min's relationship with all of the Ale and the Wise Ones, which is generally amicable. Mm-hmm. Melaine sort of starts viewing her as, like, an equal, even though she's not of the same culture, which is also foreshadowing for how Min will be viewed by the Shanshin when that becomes relevant very late in the series, which is that her cultural distance from them is sort of immediately bridged by the fact that she has these magical prophetic powers. You know, she's sort of this court Merlin, almost, who can just do shit.
The Shanshin love prophecy or whatever.
They do, yes. Okay. They love omens and whatnot. But Min and Melaine just have this totally, like, on the carpet conversation between two ladies about childbirth and whatnot. And Rand's just listening like, one time I helped a horse give birth, and it broke 3 of my ribs.
Yeah, and they're like, you weakling. And it's like, I would much rather help a human woman give birth than a horse.
I'd rather not be anywhere in the vicinity of any creature giving birth.
That is completely fair and valid. But yeah, a horse can kick you and break your ribs. I think it's a bit harder for a human giving birth to kick you and break your ribs.
Anyway,
Yeah.
then we get the update on all of the Aes Sedai.
Yeah, we have to get their little, like, resumes.
You know, we have to get the spiels. The only ones that I consider relevant are Marana, who is Grey Aja. She's one of those who will swear fealty to Rand by the end of this book. And she's, you know, around, neutrally fine. The other ones are also around. We do get mentions of Sayanid and Masuri, both of whom will be part of Perrin's coterie. Some of them, their names are so unfamiliar that I'm like, they must die in the next book or two, because I've certainly never heard of them before. Like, who the fuck is Phaedrin Harella? Never heard
Somehow.
of her. Or Valind. So anyway, I consider Marana, Sayanid, and Masuri to be the only 3 worth mentioning, really.
I honestly can't believe you remember where any of the Aes Sedai end up, or where they are. I don't remember the Aes Sedai at all. None of them.
I probably wouldn't, except that I did recently read A Memory of Light, which sort of gives you some solid updates on where some of the Aes Sedai are.
Makes sense. But you also didn't... You finished it, like, many months ago.
I know, but things usually stick in my head for a few months.
Because Emily is wise and smart. Don't make that face.
I'm just remembering how little of a memory of light I remembered over the course of several years.
Anyway.
Then Melaine leaves. She's like, I gotta go tell Bale that we're having twins. Great.
Imagine being like, some witch woman who was sitting
rando
on the Dragon Reborn's lap told me that we're gonna have twins.
Identical twins. Girls. And Bale's like, sure, this might as well happen.
Whatever.
Just another day. An Ale-Man and King Rand's Court.
Yeah.
By Mark Twain. Then Rand and Min are like, well, this is awkward. And Min's like, I better get back to the Aes Sedai. They're gonna be mad that I just ditched them. And Rand's like, well, do you want to go to the farm with me? And she's like, the farm? And he's like, yeah, where all of the scary men channeling are. And she's like, no, I think I'll stay here. And he's like, how can she be so afraid of them, but she's totally comfortable with me? And I'm like, first of all, she knows you. Second of all,
I wouldn't want to go to just, like, a farm where a bunch of dudes were, whether or not they could channel.
yeah. And I mean, yeah, even if Rand was just like, do you want to go visit the army with me? I'd be like, no.
Nah.
Doesn't sound like a good time to me. Is Bashir there? Maybe. But as we know, Bashir is not there. The only people there are absolutely rancid.
Yeah, the only people there are Mazrim Taim, the worst man you know.
So terrible.
There is Grady and Narishma.
But we haven't met them yet, you know?
Min doesn't know who the fuck Grady is.
I don't even know if she ever meets Grady.
She's just like, I do not want to go see your rancid school of rancid magic boys.
I'll stay here, thanks.
He's like, wow, that's kind of rude.
So fucking rude. But they part ways, and then Rand travels to the farm, thinking, okay...
Also, you can't just be like, do you want to go to the farm with me? Like, that's so ominous.
I know, she's like, the farm?
The farm where you go kill all your girlfriends?
The serial killer farm?
What are you saying?
I don't know. What is this? Oh, there's something immediately ominous about farms.
I don't know. If someone was like, yeah, we're going up to the farm, I'd be like, to do what? Your cult ritual?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that is basically
literally what happens. Rand digs into his closet and gets out his little pins to show men.
His little Girl Scout badges.
I know, his Girl Scout badges to be like, here's what your rank is in our made-up system for magic boys. Our death cult of magic boys. But he gets his pins, and he travels. He's like, okay, I gotta dispense these pins to the peasants, and then I also have to let them know that there are now 9 more Aes Sedai. 9 plus 2 makes 11. If we get 2 more, it's 13, which is bad, but 11 is okay, but I gotta tell them not to go murdering any Aes Sedai. Let's do it. He gets to the farm. The farm is still just like a house and a barn, but they are starting to build more houses, and they have repaired the buildings that they have. There are just boys all around there. There's a couple of ladies with some kids who are just doing their ladies and kids thing. It's irrelevant. There's a bunch of dudes learning how to fight with swords. There's also some dudes learning hand-to-hand combat from some random ale guy.
Yeah, they're learning, particularly in this scene, how to kick very high.
To kick very high. This poor ale guy who got recruited for this.
I know.
He just drew the short stick at morning chore assignments.
Yeah, they're like, you have to go to the farm.
You have to go to the farm.
And he's like, what did I do?
To teach them kicking and whatever. While they just stare at you with their, like, creepy glazed eyes. Because they're in a cult!
He's like, well, not my worst job, but...
I mean, it's pretty bad, though.
Not my best.
It's just pretty bad. Rand is immediately approached by a deeply belligerent man.
It's such a good way to describe
He's like,
him.
who are you? I suppose you've come to the Black Tower to learn. You should have waited in Camelin for the wagon to bring you. You could have had another day to enjoy the fine coat. And Rand's like, I'm Randall Thor. And this dude's like, oh, great. You don't look so cool to me. Like, he's just like this random middle school bully.
Yeah.
And Mazrim Taim just sees this happening and knocks him the fuck out.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck? And Rand's like, okay.
This is why Min didn't want to come to the farm.
Yeah, imagine if Min was there. She'd be like, what the fuck? But Mazrim Taim's like, sorry. He's one of my most belligerent boys. He's also going to be one of my favorite cult leaders.
Yeah, what's his name?
Torval.
Yeah, that's right.
And Mazrim Taim also mentions Kisman and Roshade.
Yeah.
And those three, as I recall, mostly from skimming through Path of Daggers, which we're graffitiing, are kind of Mazrim Taim's three.
Yeah, they show up in wherever the fuck Rand is. Ilian?
Yeah.
In that book. And they're like, fuck you!
Fuck you.
We're cult leaders now. And Rand's like, but I'm the cult leader. And they're like, no!
Rand, like, stares at these three and then, like, looks over at Flynn and Narishma and Hopwell and is like, what went wrong?
Yeah, he's like, you have literally a perfect boy over here.
He's like,
3 perfect boys.
is it, like, it's only a matter of, I don't know, weeks? A month, maybe? Between when I snatched Flynn and Narishma and their coterie out of the jaws of Mazrim Taim.
Yeah.
And these other boys who were with him a month longer are just like, hey, we're Satanists now.
Yeah, maybe there's like a cult threshold. Like if you're with the cult 6 months, you're fine. But you're 6 months in one day, Satanist.
What's it called when you get out of a cult? Deprogramming.
Oh, yeah.
Rand just happened to deprogram Flynn and Narishma through his whack Book 7 shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, Narishma almost gets murdered by Rand about every 5 pages.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Rand's always like, I'm about to kill Narishma, and Narishma's like, for the 9th time, yes!
Like, what if we didn't kill Narishma today? Okay, anyway, this belligerent man has been knocked out.
Tim's like, what do you want? Rand's like, oh, you're who he learns it from. Rand's like, I need to talk to the boys. And Tim's like, great, come over to this shiny marble plinth that I have set up for speaking.
This isn't culty at all.
Yeah, and Rand's like, okay. Gets all the boys together. Rand's like, hi. Well, first of all, you guys, just so you know, there's some Aes Sedai here. Just be cool about it.
Don't do any murders.
And everyone just stares at him, like...
Yeah, it's like haunting.
I know. And Rand's like, okay.
And I'm like, well, moving on to the next bullet point on my
worst
PowerPoint
part
slide.
of my TED Talk. Then he tells them, okay, you need a name. Aes Sedai means servants. I'm going to call you guys Asha'man because it means guardians. But it doesn't just mean guardians. It means, like, special guardians in the chivalric sense.
Yeah.
You're basically chivalric knights. And they're like, Asha'man.
Just kind of mumbling.
Just like,
oh, okay, cool.
okay.
Asha'man.
Cool. Nice to have a name. Oh, Rand also finds out that they've been calling it the Black Tower.
Yeah.
And Tim's like, well, I mean, it's what it is. And Rand's like, well, okay, I guess. Don't really have any problems with it. Sounds a little, just
It sounds extremely culty is what it sounds
the
like.
Black Tower.
But the White Tower also sounds extremely culty.
Yeah,
so
we just have been living with it for longer.
yeah, so it doesn't feel as culty. But Rand's like, I guess we can't stop them. And Tim's like, I could stop them if you wanted me to.
And Rand's like, nah. I guess I can stay. Hashtag immediately regrets this.
Yeah.
He's like, so Aes Sedai start as novices, and then they're accepted, and then they're Aes Sedai. You guys are going to start as soldiers, because you're soldiers in the last battle. Hashtag you're just cannon fodder, is what I should be calling you.
Yeah, welcome here. Sign on as some cannon fodder.
Then, if you survive being the lowest of the low, you will get to be dedicated. And wear this special pin that looks like a sword. And he's like, Mazrim Taim, come let me pin it on you like a fucking corsage.
We're going to homecoming.
Tim hates this.
Yeah, he's like
like
a snarling chihuahua.
And Rand's like, and if you make it through being a dedicated, if you survive that tier of the multi-level marketing scheme, if you sell enough Avon products, then you get to become An Asha'man proper. He's like, I suppose I was the first Asha'man, but now it's Mazrim Taim. Mazrim Taim's like, I've been channeling it for like 20 years.
I am like old enough to be your dad.
Fuck off. Also, I'm at this point in the series before Robert Jordan decided not to. I'm definitely one of the Forsaken.
Yeah. And then Rand pins like a gold dragon on him, and this is so petty, but it really bothers me that one of the pins is silver and one of the pins is gold.
Oh yeah.
I just like I have no problem with mixing metals. I do it all the time. It's very fun. But I just feel like if you're having a uniform, then they should be the same color.
Okay.
That's just my personal opinion on the matter.
I have no feelings about the pins. Except that I like that it's pins instead of fucking white dresses.
Yeah.
Which is somehow even worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so Rand's like, this is all so we can be prepared for the last battle, which we are for sure going to win. And then all of the guys just, he's like thinking, okay, now like cheer
Now
or
they'll
something.
cheer.
He like pauses for laughter, for cheering, applause. And all the guys are just like, crickets.
Yeah. They're all very haunting.
This scenario is so funny.
I know.
Because if you walked into the fucking farm and looked around, you'd be like, this is 100% a cult. Mm-hmm. These men are all being abused by Mazrim Taim's leadership. Mm-hmm. He's teaching them shit that will get them killed. Mm-hmm. He's teaching them to, like, depersonalize and just become cannon fodder. Mm-hmm. Human weapons. It's absolutely fucking horrifying and dehumanizing. Rand walks in and is like, seems normal. Except they're not applauding me.
It's like, it's a little weird that they are more excited about the enamel pins that I made for them.
I commissioned these specially.
Yeah. I made these for my boys. And I mean, as the first Asha'man, technically they should be applauding me.
They're just like, they have the vibe of like kids who got sent to their least favorite grandparents' house for the weekend.
Yes.
And have just had the most awful time eating their grandma's like undercooked meat or whatever.
Correct.
And being like, this has been the worst experience of my life. And then mom comes and picks you up and is like, did you have such a fun time with grandma? And you're like, I wish I was dead.
You're like, no, Mom, I'm dead inside.
But I'm old enough now to understand that I can't say such things to my mother.
Yeah.
About her own mother.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rand is just like, okay, well, I guess I'll get off this rock.
And go talk to Mazrim Taim in private.
Like, this has been really awkward for me. Sorry you guys are being abused, but this is way more awkward.
He's like, bye. Just like edges off the stage. Then he and Tim talk. Rand's like, damn, you have found a lot of boys. I didn't really believe you when you said that you would get that many, but boy, that's a lot of boys.
Yeah.
And Tim's like, yeah, it's a fucking intensive recruiting program. What do you want me to tell you?
He's just hunting down boys.
Yeah, also I am literally just like dragging men here. Probably against their will. And none of them will ever tell you about it because that's how bad I've scared them.
Yeah.
And Rand's like, yeah, totally normal.
He's like, but you didn't like my pins.
And Tim's like, what about the ones who can't channel that I just send back to you? What happens to them? And Rand's like, I just throw them a Bashir to make a little elite army of. And by elite, I mean they'll probably die in the first 10 minutes of battle.
Yeah, Rand's just like, do what you can with them. And Bashir's like, I have a full-ass army
Bashir's
of
like,
highly trained soldiers.
I don't have time for this.
Highly trained cavalry. And you want me to do something with these sad farmers.
Maybe it's Bashir's idea of a good time.
He's like, all right, boys.
Oh, summer camp. Less
You're
intense. Then Rand's like, what's your fucking problem? I don't know why you're so mad since I put those badges on you. Like, I just think they're great and that it'll make everyone want to work harder and whatnot. And Tim, who is fucking livid because he's one of the Forsaken and he's Demandrid and he absolutely hates Rand and hates having the dragon pin on himself. At this point in the series, before Robert Jordan has decided to do things differently.
Yeah, I mean, if your mortal enemy put a Girl Scout patch on you, like, imagine the shame.
I feel like in front of all the boys you've been horrifically abusing for the last months.
Like, I can't imagine how angry and rage-filled Demandred at this point in the series is.
Yeah, there's all your fucking dignity down the drain. You've just lost all credibility as an evil master.
Your mortal enemy, who is a 19-year-old man.
Mazrim Taim is such a comedic figure. Sorry, Tibble, are we bothering you?
It's just so funny, Tibble. He put a pin on him.
Put a pin on him!
He's like, didn't you like it?
Mazrim Taim's like, is this pin the fucking tail on the ass? Like, what
I'm the ass.
I'm the ass. You made me look like an ass in front of all our boys that we're co-parenting. That I'm parenting, but you can't be bothered.
Yeah, you're an absent father who rolled in with gifts from his overseas trip.
Mazrim Taim's like, is this even our cult anymore?
Do you not care about this cult anymore? Does this cult mean nothing to you?
On our wedding day, you promised. Okay. Everything's fine. Okay. Mazrim Taim's like, if you must know, I'm just super, super angry that there are so many Aes Sedai in Camelin. And Rand's like, oh, well, can't be helped. I thought I told you to stay out of the city. And Tim's like, I've got fucking spies. I haven't been going there myself. Except for that time I appeared on your balcony. And Rand's like, yeah,
what was that about?
Rand's like, it's not a problem. And Tem says, and if they join with the Red Aes Sedai, there are Red Sisters in the countryside. Several parties have arrived in the last few days trying to intercept men coming here. Then Rand has a little bit of a mental break, because Luce Thorne is like, I'm gonna kill him! And Rand's like, what? Why? Rand's like, go away. And Luce Thorne's like, no, I'm gonna kill him, and then them. I'm gonna kill every one of his little cult boys. And Rand's like, you need to fucking calm down. You're just a voice. And then Rand's like, Luce Thorne's blah, 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 rambling, and Rand's like, you're dead, Luce Thorne, you're dead. And then he comes to himself and he's like hunched over the table muttering, you're dead, I'm alive and you're dead. And he's like, looks up and Mazrim Taim's like, ugh.
If you could keep it together a little bit longer, that would be great.
Tim's like, you need to hold on. If you fuck up, then we're all fucked. And Rand's like, shut up. Anyway, Rand's like, have any of these so-called Red Sisters actually, like, stopped anyone from getting here? And Tim's like, no. And Rand's like, okay, then don't fucking bother them, and don't go into the city. If I sense a man channeling, I'm going to come and find you and kill you. And Mazrim Taim's like, oh, great, so if Demandred or Samael or whoever just shows up, then you'll kill me? And Rand's like, yeah, all I need is one excuse, bitch. I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
And Tim's like, great, good to know. Luckily, I have Samael in my DMs, so I'll tell him not to attack you.
Hey, don't channel RN, Dragon Reborn, mad at me?
Mad at me. Because I didn't want his fucking pins.
I didn't like the enamel pins he ordered off at
Samael's like... Could you be normal for 5 minutes?
And he's like, nope. Depressed. This depression is chronic, but these ass cheeks are iconic. That's it from a TikTok. I can't take credit for that.
Okay, so that's that. Christ.
Stupid.
Next week we get a chapter with the embassy, basically, that has just arrived in Camelin, kind of getting up to date on their shenanigans. Then we'll hop back over to Salidar to see Matt off with Elaine and Nynaeve headed for Abu Dar. Headed straight for disaster. What fun. But that's that. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Sorry it got a little crazy at the end there.
What happens when you visit the farm?
It's what? The farm. TM.
Cool.
Thanks to Glenn McKenzie for our theme song. Thank you to our supporters on Patreon who make it so difficult for me to do my taxes. Just kidding. It's actually very easy. You just have to fill out an extra form. And thank you to our followers on social media. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay. Do you have a sign off? I could try and think of one.
Oh my god, no. Okay, this is like very dumb and niche, but so my 2-year-old nephew who is living at my mom's house right now, my mom has been sleeping some nights in his room just because he's been like a very anxious little guy, you know, because a lot of stuff is happening. So my mom is just like, we'll put him to bed and just fall asleep with him. Probably mostly because my mom is tired. But my mom snores, as moms are wont to do. And so yesterday I was playing with my nephew and he I don't know why kids think it's funny when you pretend to fall asleep and they like get to wake you up or whatever, but I like pretended to fall asleep. He came to wake me up and then he pretended to sleep and he started fake snoring so loudly because he's like, this is what people do when they sleep, right? And my mom was like, what is that? And I was like, I think Declan is making fun of you.
It's fucking coming for you.
Oh, it's so funny.
2-year-olds are great.
Toddlers are brutal, man. Don't let a single insecurity out around them.
Oh, woof.
Yes?
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good week. Bye.